Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my favourite books of all time. I will probably be calling this my top 10 books of all time, just because it, sounds better. But I think there's only 8 or 9, so, just allow it, it's fine. I need that for the title, so, and 8 or 9's like close enough, so, it's fine, we're going with it. But yeah, so these are my favourite reads of all time that I hope you can get some good recommendations from. The first one is, of course, Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is the 3rd book in the series. I have my Nevermore shelf here, and I didn't really feel like getting the 1st book out because there's a lot going on over here. So I just grabbed the 3rd book. But basically it's about this girl called Morrigan Crow, and she finds out that, when she's born into the place that she lives, she is a cursed child. And basically, whenever anything goes wrong, literally anything goes wrong in this place where she lives, they blame it on her. So if someone's dog dies, if they don't get a pay rise, if it rains, it's all Morrigan's fault because she's a cursed child, which is ridiculous. It's stupid. It's obviously not true, but that's what they believe. And cursed children in this place actually only live for so long. I think they live until 11 or 12. And it is coming up to the time where Morrigan will be dying. It's a bit morbid, but that's what it is. But actually they find out that Morrigan is going to die a year earlier than they thought. And the whole town's like really excited because it's like, yes, we're gonna get rid of the cursed child. Everything's gonna be okay again, which obviously isn't true and is ridiculous. But that's what they think, so they're all really happy. And even Morrigan's family is really happy, which is really sad and wrong, but So yeah, that's coming up. And on the night that Morrigan is supposed to die, a strange man with a ginger hair and a ginger beard shows up, and he might take her away to a different land that's a bit more magical. And it's about Morrigan's journey in this new land where there's loads of magic and magical creatures, and it's just so much better than where she comes from. And in this new land, she's also not a cursed child, so she gets to start her life again, really. It's a fresh start, and it's about her journey in this new world called Nevermore. It's a really, really fun, magical, whimsical read, and I can't recommend it enough. It is my favourite book series of all time. It is a middle grade, but don't let that put you off, because I think anyone of any age could enjoy this, honestly. It is the best book I've read for escapism. It just really transports you to Nevermore. There's also this thing in Nevermore called the brolly rail, which is really fun. Basically, you get your brolly and you hook it onto this rail, and it whizzes you around Nevermore. And it's just everything about it is brilliant and magical, and it really does transport you to a different world. So if you're looking for an escapism read, I highly, highly recommend this. So yeah, that's the first one. I also just want to say that although Nevermore is my top favourite book, apart from that, I will not be doing these in order, just because I don't really know where I'd rank them. So yeah, they're not in order. So the next one here that is one of my favourites is A Deadly Education. And this came out last year, and the 2nd book of this, which I believe is going to be the last one, is coming out this year, so I'm really, really excited. So if you are interested in this, I recommend reading it soon, because I think the sequel comes out in July. So it's about this school, a magical school, and it's got a really interesting, intricate magic system. I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of dark. It's definitely classed as dark academia. If you're into dark academia, you're going to love this one. If you're into Harry Potter, I think you will love this one as well. It's very high stakes, and basically we follow a girl who is in this school where you learn to use your magic. Everyone has a different kind of magic, and there are monsters. There are monsters in the school that lurk in the corridors, are hiding in cupboards, under the tables, could even be in your room. They are everywhere, and you've got to always be on the lookout for these monsters because they will attack you. You can't even walk down the corridor on your own because you will die. And basically, yeah, so we're following this girl who is going through her journey at the school, learning to use her magic. And once you're in this school, you either graduate and become a really powerful being and successful being, or you die. Basically, you either graduate or you die. So, and on the back it says, I decided that Orion Lake needed to die after the second time he saved my life. And Orion Lake is the main male in this, and he is sort of maybe a love interest. It might be like enemies to lovers thing, so if you like that trope, you're definitely gonna like that as well. But yeah, I really recommend this. I really liked the pacing of the story, the writing, all the characters, the magic system. I can't fault anything about this book, and I really do recommend it, especially if you're a dark academia fan. So yeah. The next book I have to talk about, which is one of my favourites, is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I actually only read this one the beginning of this month, so January 2021, but it's already up there. It's on my favourites. It's brilliant. This reads like a dream. This is one of the best fantasies I've ever read, and if you're a fantasy fan and you've not read this yet, do yourself a favour and pick it up because it is so worth it. It really does read like a dream. It's so whimsical and beautiful, and the writing is just, it gets you, you know? You know when writing's just so beautiful that you just don't want to stop reading? Yeah. So it's just beautiful, honestly. We follow our main character, Laszlo, and he is kind of an orphan, also raised by monks. And then one day he finds out about this land far away that is kind of a forgotten land, and no one actually remembers the real name of this land. The name of the land was taken away and replaced by the name Weep, and no one really understands why. And like I said, no one has been there for a long time, so he calls it the Unseen City. And one day Laszlo comes across this story of the city, and he gets obsessed, and he studies it for years and years, and he knows everything about this land, this city. He even knows their language, and he is dying to go there one day, even though people never make it there. People who have tried to get there have died and not returned, but he's desperate. And then one day these mysterious people show up out of nowhere and whisk Laszlo away, and he goes to this city, Weep, which is actually not called Weep, but it is now called Weep. Bit confusing, but you get it if you read it. And once he gets to Weep, he realises it's not what it used to be. A lot has gone wrong. There has been a kind of war between the people living there and gods, because in this place there is like a big angel tower thing looming over the city, and inside there, that's where gods lived, or kind of gods. They are blue magical beings, and yeah, I don't want to give too much away because it will spoil it. I think you should go into this not knowing too much, because then I think you'll enjoy it more. So that's all I'm going to say about it, but it is so worth the read. It is brilliant, and I hopped on the sequel the second I finished this book because it is so good. So yeah, I highly recommend Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. One of my other favourite books is Small Spaces by Catherine Arden, and this is also a middle grade, but it's kind of scary. I kind of got like creeped out, and there were certain bits where I was like sitting on the edge of my seat like, oh, what's gonna happen? And I was kind of creeped out because there's these scarecrow guys in it that are really freaky. So it's about, well, it's like a mystery / fairy tale about these kids who go on a school trip, and the school bus breaks down and gets stranded basically in the woods, and our main character leaves the bus, and two of her friends follow, and a lot of creepy things start going on. Again, I don't want to give too much away because it will ruin it. It's a very short story, so it will ruin it if I tell you too much. But yeah, it's like a middle grade fantasy, fairy tale, mystery, thriller. I don't really know what you'd call it, but it's really good. Creepy, suspenseful. And yeah, there's these creepy scarecrow guys in it. And it's very, very creepy. I read this around Halloween and it was perfect for that time of year. But, you know, you could enjoy it any time of year. And even R.L. Stine, the author of Goosebumps, said terrifying and fun, which it is. So yeah, I recommend Small Spaces. The next book I have to talk about is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I know this is a really, really popular book on BookTube, and that is for a good reason. This is one of the books I read when I was first really getting into reading, and I think this kind of helped me, you know, dive into different kind of genres and books and stuff. We follow... Okay, I'm going to read the back because this will do a lot better than explaining than I will. So, Evelyn Hugo is the glamorous idol you admire, but she's also the relentless fighter you aspire to be. Her life story is heartbreaking, yet beautiful, and will keep readers captivated until the very last page. So, we're following this woman who works for, I think it's a magazine, and Evelyn Hugo is this big star in Hollywood, but she's, you know, on the older side now. She's not done anything in a while, and no one's heard from her in a long time. And this woman gets an invitation from Evelyn Hugo to come to her house and do a very special and last interview. And Evelyn Hugo tells her the story of her life, which not many people know about. So it's a really big deal for this woman who is writing the article. And yeah, we basically follow the life of Evelyn Hugo as she is telling it to this journalist, and it is beautiful. It is moving. I cried probably 10 times. The ending, will break you, but you will love it, and it is just such a good time. And I also love the era that it's set in. I believe it is setting, the 50s in Los Angeles, so I really like that setting as well. And yeah, you really start to feel like Evelyn Hugo's a real person, and you become invested in her life. At least I did, and that is because it's such good writing, and a brilliant story. And I became very attached to Evelyn Hugo and her life. And yeah, I really highly recommend this one. I don't know what kind of genre you'd class it as. Maybe romance, contemporary. I'm not too sure, but it's a brilliant book, so definitely pick this one up. The next book I have to talk about, which is one of my favourites, is The Diviners by LaRue. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but this is the book that really got me to be an avid reader and got me into reading and really started my obsession off with reading. It's a ghost story, mystery, thriller, but also a romance. So there's a lot going on in this. It's set in the 1920s, which I love. I love that setting so much. It's stunning, and it's stunning writing. And we're following our main character, Evie. Is it O'Neill? Yep, Evie O'Neill. And she moves to New York, and a lot of creepy things start happening. A lot of paranormal things start happening. And there's a serial killer on the loose. And this serial killer might not even be alive. He might just be a ghost. So we're following Evie's journey to investigate these things happening and to put a stop to all these horrible, gruesome murders that are going on. This is brilliant, spooky, kind of gory, but it's brilliant. It is really good. The next book I have to talk about, which has made it onto my favourites, which I did not expect for this to make it onto my favourites at all, but that is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. And as you can see, this looks like an IKEA catalogue, which is brilliant and just hilarious. Yeah, it's even got these like names and price tags that, it's basically just like a spoof of IKEA, and it's hilarious. So throughout the whole book, basically, it's like an IKEA catalogue, and it's following this person who works in one of these massive IKEA-like stores. And a lot of paranormal and weird things start to happen, and it escalates very quickly, and some very gory things start to go on. it's amazing. It gripped me so much. I read this in one night because I just couldn't stop. My eyes were falling asleep. I was like, oh no, I'm too tired, but I couldn't stop. I was just like, no, I need to know what happens. And that's how you know it's a good book. Yeah, so it is definitely a horror, but it's also funny. And I think the horror and the comedy balance each other out and just make it a really fun read. But yeah, if you're not into horror, I wouldn't really recommend this one because there are some really gory bits. And I'm a horror movie fan, and even I was like, whoa, that's like a bit much. But it is a really, really good book, and I highly recommend this. And I just love it because it's like a catalogue. It's just like so satisfying to look at as well. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favourites, and I highly recommend this one. And the last book that I have to talk about, I've actually just read. I buddy read this with my friend Angela, and I actually finished it 2 days ago. So this is a very recent read, but it's definitely on my favourites, and it's like way, way high up there on my favourites. And that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. And I'm sure you know what this book is about. I'm sure you've heard a million things about it by now. But the rumours are true. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's everything I wanted and more. And it broke my heart. I cried quite a few tears. I love Addie LaRue, the character Addie. I loved going through her life with her, going through the past, seeing her journey throughout loads of different eras of time. Because she lives 300 years, and you get to see her throughout history and how she dealt with it. And also there's a character called Henry in this who meets Addie, and I really, really related to Henry because he deals a lot with mental health, and there was really good representation for mental health in this, which I really related to and really appreciated. And there was also a lot of really good quotes in this for that, as well as good quotes in other senses. Yeah, there's so many quotes in this book where I was like, wow, I need to write that down. I need to remember this quote. I want this quote on my wall. Yeah, there was a lot in here that I loved. So yeah, basically, we follow the main character, Addie LaRue, and she doesn't want the life that she's heading to. She wants to live a freer life, a life to do what she wants, because she lives in the 17th century, or is it? The 1700s. So and yeah, you know, 1700s, she's a woman, she doesn't have any rights, there's not much for a woman to do. She has to marry and have kids, and that's basically it. And she doesn't want that, and she resorts to praying in the woods at night, and a night god answers, who is, we don't really know, a demon, a god, the devil, you know, we don't know. It's an assumption. We don't really know what he is. But yeah, so this god answers and grants her wish, but that he twists what she asked for and ends up basically giving her an eternal life. She becomes immortal. So she stays young forever. She can live as long as she wants. But the catch is that she is invisible. Everybody that she meets will never remember her again. Even when she meets someone, if the door closed between them, that's it, they'd forget. So yeah, she lives a very lonely life because she is invisible to everyone, so she can't make connections. Her family don't remember her. She is solely on her own for about 300 years, until one day in 2014 in New York City, a boy called Henry remembers her, and it is about their relationship and Addie's life and her journey through all these crazy things happening, and also her deal with the devil or God. There's a lot going on, but it's so worth it. It was a slow read. It's definitely a slow read, but at the same time it went really, really fast, and I wanted it to last even longer because I loved it so much. And the writing is stunning. Everything about this, I just loved it. I have nothing at all to fault about it. I know some people don't like it because it's slow, but in my opinion, it's slow in a good way because you really feel like you're going on her life journey with her, and I just didn't want it to end, really. So I was glad for it to be slow because I was enjoying it so much. I was looking forward to reading it every single day. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend this one. This one is definitely up there in one of my top favourites. So I had to mention this even though it's such a recent read. So that is all the books I have. I believe it was 1, 2, 8. But like I said, it's fine. I'm going to put 10 in the title, you know, round it up. But yeah, they are my 8 top favourite books ever that I really, really wanted to talk about and recommend because I love them with my whole heart. I love them all so much. And all the characters and stories mean the world to me and have helped me through so much. So I wanted to share them with you, and hopefully you get some good recommendations. And if you've already read some of these books, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought of them. Please let me know what your favourite books are. I'd love to know. I'd love some recommendations. That'd be brilliant. And I will see you in my next video. Yeah, bye.